Okay, so hi, my name is David and my project is on information spread on networks. Now you might read this title and think a couple of things. For example, what is information? Or what is a network? Now without getting too philosophical, I mean, in this presentation we're going to look at a couple of fairly simple models of spreading rumours around. This will be the information that we're talking about. However, in the next slide, in the motivation slide, you'll see quite a lot of different applications that you can apply to this. Passing it way beyond just rumours and information. Let's take a look. So, one of the main applications of this, as you may have already guessed, is in social networking. So, I mean, Twitter, Facebook, and we can talk about world news. When somebody releases some information about something they've done, something they've heard, it gets passed to the people who are listening to them, which then gets passed on and on. One thing that we might want to look at is how fast this information spreads, how much influence each person has in their network, and also if you inject a rumour or a piece of information into a social group, how quickly does it propagate within that social group? Will it be, will it propagate to the entire group, or will it be, suppressed? That's something we can take a look at. Now, some of the other applications, far and wide, digital devices, mobile phones, syncing of cloud syncing, everything like that, it's all hooked up with rumour spreading algorithms. Viruses, both real and digital. Yeah, both real and digital. So we might talk about computer viruses, that your school network has just been infected, or we might talk about epidemics in the real world. Human geography, disasters, volcano eruptions, aid schemes. Physical systems, kind of interesting one. We've got particles reacting and how quickly the reactions and the particles may spread in a room or in a container. And, some fairly mundane things. So let's take a look at the model. So if you imagine so this is a bit maths talk now, but if you imagine there are a given number of people, a very, very large amount of people, say 1 million, and you tell just one of them initially, a rumour on day 0, and every day after that, so on day 1, firstly, he tells someone the rumour, completely randomly. He selects that person randomly, maybe he rolls a dice, a million-sided dice, or he somehow generates another person's number which he tells a rumour to. And that's on day 1, and then every day after that, each person that knows the rumour at this current state in time tells it to one other person randomly generated. Now this randomly generated person may be someone who already knows it, or it may be someone who's already been maybe someone who doesn't know rumour, or maybe someone who already does. That thing, we're not differentiating between those right now. And the main question is, how long will it take before the rumour spreads to the entire group? So let's take a look at a model, a graph. If we set n equals 100,000, this is because my computer's really shit, we get something like this. So this is a cumulative graph of how many people know this rumour as time goes on. The x-axis is the number of days. And we can see on day 21, all 100,000 people know this rumour. And what is remarkable about this model is that while everything is done randomly, the actual shape of the graphs and the actual spread of the rumour can be determined very easily. It's very predictable. So let's take a look at another 6 runs of this experiment. Those graphs are not exactly the same, they're different. The data differs by a very slight amount. However, you can tell me if you can see any difference, because I can't. Okay, so here's an important theorem that I researched. It's done by Fries and Grimmett, some Dr. Fries and Dr. Grimmett. Sound like supervillains or something. But they wrote a theorem which provides an upper bound on the amount of time it takes for a rumour to spread. And that's quite remarkable because, as n gets huge, as it starts going towards an infinite number, you want to look at how long it will take for this rumour, how does that affect the amount of time it takes for a rumour to spread? And what you find is it affects it very little. It does affect it, but the increase in time is very little compared to the increase in people. Okay, let's take a look at an example. Student Facebook group. Has anyone heard of Spotted in the Ass Library? Anyone liked it on Facebook? Okay, right, so I modelled the stats to this, and so I've modelled the amount of likes that it's got per day as a cumulative graph, and compared it to a model that I fitted using the model that we've just been looking at. And the graphs look fairly similar. They can't, they'll never be exactly the same, there'll always be random fluctuations. human factors that affect why this one is a bit, shaky. But you can see why, the graph on the right can more or less be used to model the one on the left, and if you generate more numbers on the one on the right, you can also use it to forecast what a Facebook group might receive in the future. Okay, that's it. Any questions? I wasn't expecting many because it's probably a bit technical. Go on.
With that model, how can you change it if people don't throw on the rumours?
Yes, okay, so something you have to account for, obviously, is when, in a real-life situation, not everyone is going to tell one friend a day some rumour, at constant intervals forever. So sometimes you do have to account for people who people who already heard the rumour but have stopped spreading it. The model on the right kind of accounts for this. It only takes into account that 1/8 or something of the population at any given time are actively spreading the rumour. There are more precise models, which is where, so you model it such that if one person who has heard the rumour tells it to another person who's already heard it, they both become people who no longer spread it. That's a fairly more complicated thing. I haven't looked at that yet, but that's another way you can model it. Anything else? Go on.
What inspired you to look at this form of information spamming?
Do you mean this precise model or just the topic in general?
Oh, the topic in general.
Okay, so I'm very interested in the dynamics of social networking. Social networking is the future. It's so many things that we used to do, by mouth, by email, by letters or whatever. Everything is done now online with a single click. There's people saying the US elections in 3 terms' time will probably be purely done online. Things like that, everything, can be modelled digitally now. And when things are going digital, you have an abundance of data from that, and you can always investigate deeper into it. Go on. Okay, anything else?
You said the future is digitised and social network is the future. Do you think it would be better that way?
I don't think anyone's going to ask me this on Monday, but
Just in case.
Okay, so do I think it will be better? Now, nothing will replace, face-to-face contact. So, for example, companies now are doing interviews on Skype, and that doesn't ever replace, face-to-face interviews. They'll still ask you to come in and do an interview sometime. I reckon there's always an element of, when you're talking to an individual, you can see their body language, you can see whether or not they're really interested in what you're saying. There are so many elements that you just can't do, purely on a digitized basis. I think it's made life a lot more convenient, and I think the availability of it is certainly a very good thing. However, I don't think it would be great if everything went digital. If we put ourselves into robots or